Hello and welcome to Politics here on France 24. Marriage for all. This is the way the socialist government has described a bill that was presented to the cabinet this week to legalize same-sex weddings and allow adoption for gays. The proposal has been met with a firestorm from the Catholic Church and conservatives, with the opposition questioning the timeliness of such a move in the midst of a major economic downturn. To discuss the issue with me here today, Franck Marguin, who is a vice president of the Christian Democratic Party. Welcome. Also on the set, Philippe Cordery, who is a member of parliament with the Socialist Party. He's representing the French living abroad. So the measure was presented to the cabinet this Wednesday, and obviously this is a sensitive issue.
France could become the next country to legalize same-sex marriage. In 1999, the country approved gender-neutral civil unions, the so-called pacts. And since, many homosexual couples have subscribed to them, but they do not offer the same rights and responsibilities as traditional marriages. This draft resolution presented today by the government would increase the social protection of both partners.
The aim is to satisfy our principle of equality and to ensure that all couples can access marriage as an institution in the same way that they could form a couple in the other two manners. That is to say, a formal cohabitation and a social solidarity pact.
But the resolution is facing stiff opposition from both religious leaders and conservative family groups because it would open up adoption to gay couples. The bill plans to abolish all references to mothers and fathers in official documents. Instead, the more neutral term of parents would be used. For family associations, this law represents a threat to the traditional family unit.
There's a huge difference between how a woman and a man interact with a child. We see it particularly in the first years of the child's life. They just don't have the same role.
Polls suggest up to 2/3 of French voters back gay marriage, but are split on the issue of adoption. If voted, France would become the 12th country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage. The bill will now go to Parliament for review and is likely to be approved in the first months of 2013.
So just before we open the floor to our guests, just to realize how sensitive the issue is, I just want to read you what the Cardinal of Paris, André 23, said last weekend in the pilgrimage town of Lourdes. He called the plan law a fraud, quote unquote, and said it will not be marriage for all, as the slogan of the campaign says. It will be the marriage of a few imposed on all. Philippe Cordery, the socialists have presented that bill in the name of equality, but obviously this is not going down well with all segments of French society.
I think, the polls show it's going down well with the French people, which is also extremely important because we are in a situation of progress. We're in the 21st century, and I think, that all couples, whatever their sexual orientation, have the same rights in terms of marriage seems a logical thing to do now in the 21st century. So I think other countries, you mentioned it, Belgium, the Netherlands, Sweden, Portugal, sort of very various countries, Brazil, Mexico, have introduced sort of marriage for all. I think France will become a modern country in the beginning of 2013 by introducing this bill.
I think it's just, unbelievable to think about, the surveys telling to the population who is looking to this TV show that it's going well. You could see that the survey from last year, we've lost, nearly 12% of the population who agreed on this mariage pour tous. So first, because we have opened a debate, you could see that the population doesn't agree. And you will see that more we are going to talk about that, more the surveys.
65% of the population.
No, it's not 65, it's 50.
We have a poll that we can show you.
And you will see that the poll has diminished tremendously for the last 6 months. So please, we should be very clear on that. The population, when they are informed and not, just blocked by a sort of left-wing way of telling things to the population, they start to think about the consequences. And when you think about the consequences, when you talk about the modern, what does that mean, modern? Modern means you have not the right to get a mom and dad. I mean, it's not what I call modern, it's called a view. It's your view, and maybe we could talk about this view, but it's not modern against past. And when you say, there are so many countries, among more than 100 countries in the world, you've got 8 or 9 countries which have adopted this new way of creating families. So I don't understand that, we could talk about, an immense movement or change in the world that because you've got only few who have, look in the United States, you've got 2 states who have actually yesterday adopted the gay family, and you've got 33 states which have said no. And they've said no when you've asked the population in a referendum. And if you ask the population, and the population is in charge, and especially in a country where France of the citizen rights, we should ask to the citizens.
So you want a referendum?
That for sure. I mean, that's for this quality of subject, which is effectively a very deep and emotional subject, and I couldn't understand that for the gay population, it's very emotional. I don't understand why the population couldn't say a word of that.
What's your answer to this? Why go the parliamentary way instead of a referendum?
Well, first of all, members of parliament are the representatives of the people. We have been elected. We were elected in last June. And it was very clear in François Hollande's programme, the engagement commitment number 31 was that we would introduce the marriage for all and the adoption for all couples. So things were absolutely very clear. And the debate took place during the campaign. There was a bill proposed in the National Assembly by the Socialist Group in the past. So there's nothing new. I mean, there's no surprise. It's been always very open, very transparent. And once the campaign has taken place, debates took place during the campaign, arguments in favor, arguments against. The French people chose a majority which has committed itself to introduce the marriage for all.
And there will be a debate in Parliament.
So there will be a debate in Parliament. There will be a debate
very
in
short
society.
debate actually, because you get this bill presented to the cabinet in November, and you've got to go into the Parliament in January. So it's only a month and a half.
So that's 3 months, according to my calculation,
including everything. You're right.
In which the Parliament will.
I'm surprised when you say you've been elected. I don't think you've been elected on gay marriage. You've been elected on a global way of
on 60 proposals, including
and you has only a majority of 600,000 people. So about things like the gay marriage. I mean things like a family structure. I think it could be a very good respect to the population to ask their view.
So
that's
we could have
why
a referendum
I don't understand why sometimes you want a referendum in the Socialist Party and sometimes you don't. So according to your dogma and your way of thinking the society, the population has nothing to say. But when it suits you, the population has something to say, which I don't think it's fair for this particular subject, obviously.
I don't know what you're getting at, but François Hollande proposed 60 proposals. If we want to have 60 referendums on each of the proposals now, we could, but that's not the way that representative democracy works.
No.
We have elected a parliament, and the parliament will implement the proposals that were presented by François Hollande during his campaign. And to get back on the content, because I think that's the most important, it's a question of equality. First and for all. It's a question of freedom of choice, that all people, whatever their sexual orientation is, are able to marry, to adopt children, and to be able to form a family. I think it's we're here in the question of basic freedom.
I don't think you could say that it's a question of equality. By creating a new equality, which I would understand somewhere, because all the gays have been traumatized. They've been killed by the communists in Russia. They've been killed by the fascism in the Second World War. That was a mental disease, only 30 years ago. So I have got a lot of sympathy about their own trauma and their desire to be recognized and their desire to have access to the legal marriage. That's not the issue. The issue is by creating
this. It is the issue. It's the issue today.
No. I think it's not an issue. They have the desire. To have
But why shouldn't they
you
have
are
the
contesting
rights?
their design. No, I'm not contesting their design. Their design to get access to marriage is not an issue. The issue is the consequences of that. And the consequence that you are creating a new inequality. So the fact that the adopted children, who are also traumatized population, they are also traumatized. I hope you understand that all children who have not been able to get their own family for car accident or disease or whatsoever, who are born in this world without parents could look after them. You deny them the right to have a mom and dad. You deny them a right to be brought up by two different sexes.
But why two different
That's
sexes?
another inequality, and that's why you've got to be fair. By creating an equality, you just impose, and the legislation will impose a new equality. So in a country like France, where it's country of equality among citizens, I am on the side of the most fragile. The most fragile are the children who are going to be adopted, and I think as an adult, we have the responsibility to give them the right to have a mom and dad.
There are thousands of children today.
Thousand.
There are thousands on this planet of children today living in a couple of same sex, and they are.
But they have been.
They're
born by a mom and dad,
and they're loved by their parents. They're loved by their parents, and they're well educated in the same way
is
that
not being well brought up by a gay family.
I just want to clarify something with what you just said. You say the desire of people of the same sex to have marriage is legitimate. So are you in favor of gay marriage and against gay adoption? Is this your position?
My position is I'm against gay adoption.
Okay, and you're in favor of gay marriage?
That's difficult because
It's a very simple question to answer.
No, but it's not a very simple question because the gay marriage open to gay adoption. So I'm against gay marriage in that case.
But if the bill was only about gay marriage, you would be okay with it?
That would be okay.
Do you think that's a distinction that can be made? That maybe the opposition is more towards the issue of adoption. We also have a poll we'll show you while we discuss on the issue of same-sex adoption.
But I mean, on the question of adoption, things were also very clear during the campaign, and French people decided also during this campaign, and the polls are in favor, maybe a little bit less, but there are a majority of people who accept the adoption for all couples.
50% in favor, 47 against.
Yeah, but that's the majority.
That's what they call a large majority.
No, but it's the majority of the people, and in any case, I mean, we have 3 months in front of us to debate.
And you will see the survey going down.
And also to convince that it's a question there again of equality. I mean, I know plenty of children who live actually. I mean, I come from Belgium, where gay marriage and adoption is legal.
But it's not because somebody does some wrong that we've gone to do it. No, it's wrong. It's wrong because you are just trying to tell to people
in a family
you
with
are
parents
going
that
to be well loved.
That love
Thanks God, they are going to be well loved. We are not denying that two gay people.
But who are you to say that it's wrong?
It's
who
wrong.
Are you to say that it's wrong?
It's wrong because you denied to an adopted child to get the right to have differentiation between the mom and dad. That's where you're wrong, and that's where it's wrong. I think
to be brought up, you don't need to have a mom and dad. You need to have parents.
A child is not a product. A child is not a product.
You
have a design to get a child. You have the design to get a child, but a child has the right to have a mom and dad. And when you are talking about these children who are living in a gay couple, you've got to be right also. These children have not been sent by, Sky. They've been, made actually by a man and a woman. Because the life has made them into a gay family. They are. But in France, that is also existing. You've got today children who are brought up by two dads or by two men, but they still kept their dad and their mom, and that's entirely different.
And who are living
just very quickly
about that.
Just very quickly to show the raw feelings this is creating here in France. We'll just hear from Serge Dassault, who's a senator from the Conservative Party and the owner of the right-leaning paper Le Figaro. He reacted very vividly to this bill.
The population will no longer be renewed. What's the point? Do we want a country of gays so that in 10 years there won't be anybody left? It's idiotic. Look at history. Greece. This is one of the reasons for its decline back in ancient times. It means the end of family, the end of raising children, the end of education. It's an enormous threat to the entire nation. Enormous.
Did you share this view? And does Madame Boutin share the view of Monsieur Dassault?
You will ask to Madame Boutin. Please ask her. I don't know.
Madame Boutin being the head of the Christian Democratic Party.
I don't.
It's a scandal. It's a scandal.
I mean,
to be able to say
it's a scandal to deny also the fact to a child not getting a mom and dad. So I'm not going to comment that. That is view. That's Mr. Dassault. That's not my issue. The issue I'm trying to raise here, it's trying to have a debate which is clear on the consequences.
Just the words of conclusion. If the opposition, the church, decides to take the issue to the streets, do you think the government will back down and say maybe we need to tweak this bill?
No, because it's a clear commitment.
It's a dictator.
And there will be a debate. Because a debate in Parliament has started. There'll be plenty of NGOs, of representatives of different groups who will be heard. There'll be lots of hearings. But at the end of the day, there will be a bill. And this bill, and in the Socialist group, there's a majority also to go further than the proposal today and to introduce assisted reproductive technology, so to allow also lesbian couples to have in vitro fecundation, and that's also extremely important because that's a question. I live in Belgium. There's plenty of mothers, French mothers, coming to Belgium to have their child born in Belgium and then coming back to France, and there we need to find a solution and to solve also.
Okay, in a word, you're ready to fight this.
Yes, I mean, when I hear that, to think it's a good idea to have a mother coming to have in vitro fertilization, to have a child without a father, and you as a legislator, thinking it's a progress, I'm just amazed.
Okay.
I'm just amazed.
We have to.
There is no progress there.
We have a different approach to progress.
No. It's
yes, we have a very different approach to progress.
It's fulfillment. You are confusing progress and fulfillment.
Okay, we have to end it here. We'll probably have another occasion to discuss this issue. I told you it was a sensitive issue here in France. You now have confirmation. Thank you for watching this edition of Politics, and we'll see you next week.